Thank you. I just want to say welcome everyone and thank you for coming. Thank you particularly to, I've kind of like Pied Pipered a few people off the street on my way from uni. And I think there are about 5 or 6 women that I've pulled along with me. So it's a great time to have some more women in the room. International Women's Day this weekend. We'll get on to that. So yeah, hi everyone and thank you and welcome. So like I said, it's great to see so many people here tonight. It's pretty full. Why is today's talk so important? Well, obviously it's because I'm doing the talk. Just joking. So this weekend, it might not have really crossed people's minds. I kind of needed a reminder. But this weekend it's International Women's Day. So obviously this talk falls around that time. So I kind of viewed this talk as an opportunity to celebrate women in games. So that's what we're going to have a look at today. When Joe very kindly asked me to do a talk, I thought, yeah, amazing. Like, obviously I'm going to do a talk. What should I talk about? Okay, so like we mentioned, it's International Women's Day this weekend, and this talk is falling around that time. So naturally, I'm going to talk about women in games. Women in games. What does that mean, right? As a concept, it's quite a wide thing. Does that mean women working in the games industry? Does it mean women in the games community? Does it mean women's representation in games? There are so many different things to think about. And yet for me, weirdly, the first thing that I kind of thought about, the thing that I kind of kept getting drawn back to, was actually the issues for women in games and controversy around women in games. So that was the topic that I kind of kept getting drawn to. Obviously, currently as it stands, hopefully this is going to change in the next few years, ASAP basically. But the games industry, not particularly the community, the games industry is one that is currently dominated by men. Most men do work in the games industry. Women are finding that they don't really belong as much in the games industry. And unfortunately, some gamers are kind of reinforcing that element of exclusion. I recently saw a poll on Twitter, which I'm not gonna give a massive big space on the screen. I'm gonna briefly mention it. A poll on Twitter that said that 40% of people who engaged with the poll felt that women shouldn't be in games. And that's when it kind of hit me when I was thinking about what I want to talk about. Do I want to give that any more attention? I've already mentioned it here. Do I want to kind of focus on that? Do I want to do this talk on women, issues for women in games? No, right? Why would I, as a woman tangentially in games, take on those issues as if they're like my own personal burdens of being a woman standing here in games? Why would I take that on? Why would I give that any more time? So I won't. It's not going to be on the screen. Let's move on, right? Instead of talking about the issues for women in games, what I would actually like to do is reflect my own experience of being a woman in games. I'm going to reflect the positivity that I have felt from this community back to you guys. So instead of talking about the issues for women in games, let's just talk about women in games. Let's just talk about a woman in games instead. So with that being said, hi. My name is Kate Spink, and I am a woman tangentially in games. I'm going to kind of take up this space. I know, I've got a platform today. I'm very lucky, no matter how kind of small it is, it's meaningful. And I'm going to take this opportunity to talk about myself as a woman in games, be a little bit selfish, and talk about what I've been doing. So yeah, this is me on Indie Game Lane. Let's get into it. So yeah, I'm Kate, and I work, like I said, tangentially in games. Like a couple of people in here, I'm an educator in games. I work with my 2 co-workers, which we're going to get into, as an occasional lecturer and demonstrator at Glasgow Caledonian University in 3D animation and visualization, which is a course that's mainly geared towards 3D production for game art. So it's very game focused. I'm also a 3D artist for games, and I'm 1/3 of So Evil Studio. Don't know if you guys can see So Evil Studio. repping the merch here. Yeah, so today I'm just going to talk a bit about that, if that's okay. I'm going to talk about myself, So Evil, and what we do. So I named this talk starting a studio as an industry reject as a joke. I mean, nobody's going to like to admit that they've been rejected by an industry. Definitely haven't been rejected by the games community. But the reason why I'm up here, the reason why So Evil exists, is from a little bit of a rejection from the industry. That's us there in our kind of old merch that's just been updated. We're repping it tonight, so you'll see us like parading it around. So the three of us here starting So Evil Studio, it really came from us trying to enter the games industry at a major slump, right? So, you know, we got our qualifications, we were brand new and shiny and ready to work in games. And we found that we were doing it at a time where there were historic layoffs for the games industry, basically. And everybody here is aware of that, right? Studios closing all over the place, layoffs everywhere, not many people were hiring. And we found that instead of being rejected by studios, we were kind of actually being ghosted, right? And nobody deserves that. So we thought to ourselves, you know, again, like I mentioned earlier, not dwelling on the negativity, going for the positivity. Fuck it. If no one's going to hire us into our studio, we'll hire ourselves. Let's start our own studio. So that's what we did. It's really nice to see, actually, you know, talking about that negativity about the 3D industry, that the indie game community is still thriving. I mean, it's like buzzing here. Every time we come to one of these events, everyone's kind of telling stories about their freelance projects, their indie game projects. So it like really warms our hearts to see that. So yeah, you know, on that note, I remember the first meetup that I attended with you guys here. Somebody asked me, what are your 5 favorite games? I think it was Jordan. Somebody asked me what my 5 favorite games, and when somebody asked me that, I thought, that's it, right decision. Like, we're in there, we're going full in on the games, and it was just such a good feeling to know that we're starting something in a meaningful place that has a really good feeling about it. So that's how So Evil Studio was born, and that's us there, looking all cute. So what is So Evil Studio? Well, it's us, as you know. So Evil Studio is a small Glasgow-based 3D studio. We are based in Bridgeton in the East End of Glasgow at a small studio, a small women-owned studio space, Wild and Kind, which is run by Helen and Trudy. We'll get onto those guys in a little bit. It's an amazing studio space full of really creative, unique people just like us, people that are creative and are trying to make it. It's a really inspiring place to be. So we got into our studio space and we thought, we're going to go for it. We're going to do what we want, what we're passionate about, which is games, video games, and tabletop role-playing games. So that's what So Evil is all about. So what we do is we make 3D models for video games, and we also make 3D printed minis for tabletop role-playing games. How many of you guys in here are aware of or play, first of all, how many of you guys are aware of or play video games? Woo! How many of you guys in here play tabletop role-playing games? Mm-hmm. Right? They go hand in hand. Games are so big. And that's what we found that we were passionate about, so that's what we're going all in for. So that was us. In So Evil Studio, we got into our space that I mentioned in Bridgeton, we got all our kit in, and we were off. We knew what we were going to do, we were going to start going for it. Kind of. We were off, but, you know, like this lady on that little contraption she's on, it wasn't smooth sailing, basically. We were in, and we kind of hopefully thought that we would be trading pretty fast and, you know, on Forbes, like top 100 self-made billionaires ASAP. why would it work out that way, right? No, nothing ever does. So it goes kind of without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. It's been more of a bumpy road, kind of like the terrain that she was probably trying to grapple with. Wasn't smooth sailing. We've actually spent the past probably 5 months prototyping, and what that means is working and failing and learning a lot, basically, which I think is so important for doing these creative things. We've had some troubles. We got our machines into the space. We had a few pops, few smoke. What was that? Oh my God. Old machines going into the wiring. I don't know if you guys knew about that, who own our space, but we've had a couple of pops. We had a lot of blue screens. You guys, game devs, you know what I'm talking about in here. We had a lot of blue screens. A lot of Blender donuts. How many have dabbled with Blender, right? You'll be familiar with the Blender. Yeah, I can see some nods. A lot of Blender donuts for us to have the opportunity to come to grips with the software that we can afford as indie game devs and indie game artists, which is Blender, free unpaid software. So we had a lot of that going on until now, where we're finally ready through the blood, sweat and tears to kind of present ourselves to you guys, really excited, and show what we do. So what we do for So Evil, who we are, and what we make. So for me, I make guns. Not real guns. I'm not a psychopath. I make guns for games. So this gun right here, guys, what's this gun? Anybody know? Give me a shout. Amazing, AK-47. Woo! Yeah, exactly. Like, you know it, we know it, we love it. It's the most popular, controversial opinion. It's one of the most popular guns in the world. There are over 100 million units in circulation globally at the minute. This gun here, what I do, you know, I have a passion for modeling guns, not actually using them or not what they're used for in real life. But this is my a kind of recent one that I did. This gun right here, you're thinking, okay, it doesn't look like a traditional Kalashnikov. It doesn't have the wooden lower handguard or buttstock. This is one that I spotted being used by Ukrainian soldiers in the current conflict. It's got that folding stock at the end. So a super iconic gun, but with a little bit of a twist, which is what we're kind of into at So Evil. So yeah, that's the AK. It's impressive and widely recognized. Obviously, somebody even shouted out what it was. Here's a picture of it in a little bit more detail. I'm going to show it off. Of course, I'm going to show it off. So that's one of the guns that we've been doing. And we sell these guns that you can buy, put straight into your game and use this if you're making a first-person shooter, something like that. So here's another gun that I've been working on recently. This is, does anybody know? This will be a tougher one. Anybody seen this? Huh?
Is it a PPK?
So this is a Glasenti, a 1910 Glasenti. Does anybody know the German Luger? Yeah, yeah, we know. So this is considered like the Italian version of the Luger. So produced in 1910 for the Italian army. And like I said, it's kind of the equivalent of the German Luger. Less famous though, like I said, going for a bit of an edge. I chose to model this gun because I think it looks really nice. It's got a unique look to it, and it's good. Semi-automatic pistol, pretty cool. So that's a recent one that I did. I'm going to come back to that in a little bit. But like I kind of asked a while ago, obviously we're a 3D studio. Does everybody have kind of a main understanding of what 3D is? Or does anybody not? Because, you know, when I explain what I do to my mum, I show her these renders and she goes, "Oh, darling, that's so clever. You really drew that." Which is like, yeah, I am. Thank you so much. I am. No, I didn't just draw that. So for the purposes of talking about So Evil for the rest of your time, I'm going to just do a little quick chat about how we make what we do for So Evil. So all of these objects that we make, we 3D model them in a software like Blender or 3ds Max. Like I mentioned earlier, we're into Blender now because it's free. So we will model our objects, optimize them to make sure this isn't the best optimization, but anyway. Optimize the models to make sure that they can run really smoothly into a game engine. You're not bringing a giant piece of geometry that's going to slow down your game to like 2 FPS. So it's really well optimized. There we've got the models. That's what we make it in the studio. Now we've got our model. It's finished. Doesn't look like a real gun, obviously. We would then bring it into a new software where we would texture it. So we would give it the color, the roughness, the shine, basically turn it from being this kind of white blob to a realistic looking gun or model, not just for guns. So that's the process, and that's what we make, and that's how we get there. So with that being said, here is a picture of me working on my latest gun. Not really. This, I'm really, really excited to actually present this to you guys. Obviously, you can see it's not finished, it's grey, but this is the current gun that I'm working on. And I'm so thrilled to show this to just anybody, basically, because this is So Evil as a company. This is So Evil's first ever completely original gun. I showed you the AK, I showed you the Glasenti earlier, and they are obviously 3D models of real guns that exist in the real world. This gun here, this is the SE TAC 25, so the So Evil Tactical Pistol 2025. And this is not a direct copy of any gun that exists in the real world, but we've kind of taken elements of my favorite tactical pistols and kind of Frankensteined it into our own unique creation. So it's got, I don't know if anybody here is hot on weapon art, but it's got some features from the Glock 19, from the Sig Sauer and the Palmetto dagger. So more unique pieces from So Evil, basically, coming up for you to put into your games. These guns will be rigged and animated for really cool reload animations so that they can integrate seamlessly into indie game dev projects. You don't need to do a lot of hands-on game art. If kind of coding is your thing, we take care of that. That's our thing. So now that we're kind of onto the guns thing, I'm going to take a little bit of time and indulge myself even further, talking even more about guns. I wanted to just quickly brag and boast about this, basically. A really huge highlight that we have had as a studio, you can see we're in our little uniforms, work trip. A really huge highlight that we have had setting up our studio is one that we have only been able to take part in from having a studio and from doing 3D art and weapons art for games. We were lucky enough to have the opportunity to visit the National Firearms Collection down in England. And does anybody recognize this chap here? Yeah. So we met Jonathan Ferguson, who is the Keeper of Firearms and Artillery at the National Firearms Collection, and he's our new best friend. He was so cool, really knowledgeable, really friendly. He took so much time with us. He takes a real interest in weapons art for video games. So he very selflessly gave us a lot of his time showing us a really intimate look at weapons, which is what we went down for to kind of inform the modeling that we do for our assets. It was incredible. We got to see some really iconic weapons up close. And the most exciting part, I hate that picture of me, but everybody just look at the gun. Do you remember the 1910 Glasenti that I showed you earlier on? Probably, I was going to say that the highlight of the year, but this only happened in January. So the highlight of my 3D modeling career, I would say. I was modeling the 1910 Glasenti for about 8 weeks, seeing it on the screen, getting reference images from it. and suddenly I was finally there in the room with it. I was able to actually hold it. I had gloves on, obviously, but I was able to hold this gun, and it was the most incredible experience. And I don't know if you guys can't see because the photo is cropped. I was so excited to hold the gun that I started levitating, and I was about 4 foot off the floor when this picture was taken. It was like a glow around me as well. So yeah, that was incredible. So that's what I do for So Evil. But it's not just me. There are 2/3 left of So Evil Studio. So I'm gonna take some time to introduce those guys. So, Dhruv is our character miniature artist for So Evil. So Dhruv makes character minis for tabletop role-playing games, like, for example, do you guys play Dungeons and Dragons? Anybody? Do you know Dungeons and Dragons? Yeah, exactly. You're gonna love this. It's really cool stuff coming up. So what Dhruv does is he makes the character minis for tabletop role-playing games. This is actually a commission for somebody's character that they have in their D&D game, which is completely hand sculpted, hand drawn, completely customizable. No sliders, no procedurally generated assets. No hero forge. We do it all completely by hand, and it's stunning, right? So this is a rock gnome wizard. He's called Nex, and the client wanted this character in 2 different poses. So we have one here of him playing his magical bagpipes, and one here about to cast a spell. It's pretty cool. And at So Evil, we can print these minis for you as well. Here's something else that I'm actually really hyped to launch this project and chat to you guys about this today. This is something that Dhruv, our character artist, is working on currently, and this is a collaboration, a really, really exciting collaboration with a homegrown Glasgow-based Kickstarter-funded tabletop role-playing game called Warped, and it's basically sort of like a manic multiversal version of Dungeons and Dragons, a bit of a sci-fi version. It's sort of like Everything Everywhere All at Once. Dungeons and Dragons. It's quite sci-fi, very quirky, and the creator of Warped is actually here tonight. Give us all a wave. Higher. The creator of Warped is here tonight. If this has kind of piqued anybody's interest and you fancy having a chat about it, it's a really exciting game, and naturally, the characters that are in the game. There are I think there are 100 of them, and they're really quirky. They lend really well to visually stunning minis. So naturally, we saw that game, and we thought we need to collaborate with these guys. We need to make a line of minis. So what So Evil are currently working on at the minute, really big project, is a complete line of minis for this game. And you can see some of them here, very different from your typical druid and wizard and stuff. We've got a guy who's made of ice cream. We've got a knight, little dog. Some other really exciting Warped minis include chainsaws for hands. So a really scary character with chainsaws for hands, like jelly arms. There's a giant plushie, which I really want to oversee that project because it's so cute. So that is what our character artist Dhruv is working on. So saving the best to last is our last member of So Evil Studio, which is Stephen. And Stephen is our terrain mini artist and resident game master at So Evil Studio. So what Stephen does for So Evil is very complementary to the minis that Dhruv does. Stephen makes 3D printed terrain assets, again, for tabletop role-playing games. So Stephen's currently working on this terrain pack. It's a pack of fences, and the way that gamers will use this for tabletop role-playing games is they can build an environment for their minis to exist in. It's interlocking, and there are different iterations with kind of like flora as well, like different levels of wear. Really, really cool stuff coming out of the terrain mini side of So Evil. Stephen has a background in acting, a musician, very creative guy, and his personality really bleeds into the work that he does for the terrain minis, and he likes to incorporate an element of storytelling and very narrative-driven terrain pieces for So Evil. And also, he's about to become a dad in September, so congratulations, Stephen. There you go. There's a lot going on. So that's what we do at So Evil. That's what we make, and we wouldn't have really been able to make any of it without the support and really nice environment that we have. I'm sure that everybody here can relate to kind of like the manic everyday juggling act of trying to work your job, deal with your family, the cost of living, just the kind of the manic everyday life that you have to juggle and still be creative, which is really tough, to be honest. But we just want to say a really, really huge thank you to Helen and Trudy at Wild and Kind Studios, which is the studio that we work out of in Bridgeton, who have been incredible with giving us help with our merch, help with business connections, information, and also just like bearing with us while we got our cable management sorted. Because our machines, when we brought them in, they were so old that they couldn't connect to the Wi-Fi, so we had like 40-foot cables connecting us to the Ethernet, which is like, you don't think about that when you're starting up like a tech business, right? Like, so thank you so much for bearing with us with the cable management. We would also love to just highlight the King's Trust. I'm not sure even if many people are aware of that, but they're an amazing charity who help kind of young, thank you for calling us young entrepreneurs and young businesses. They've given us a lot of really good resources and support and help and information on starting our business journey. So this talk, this kind of talk that I'm doing to you guys today, this is not our we've made it kind of talk, obviously, right? Because we've only just started, really. It's not our we've made it talk, but it's a reflection. I would like to just kind of reflect and place importance on the community, engaging with the community, building friendships, building relationships, and just kind of using them, to be honest, using your friendships, using your relationship, using your connections, and supporting each other and kind of pushing each other on to do something when you're trying to build something difficult, and be creative despite your jobs. You guys are all, doing your indie projects, your freelance projects, because to be honest, what it's all about is, despite everything difficult that everyone has going on, we find a way, right? Everybody's still making creative stuff. You're still making indie games. You're still making indie art. So that's what I would like to celebrate from this talk. Despite everything, creativity kind of finds a way. So that kind of brings me to the end today. I just want to basically end on one final sentiment, which is long live indie games, indie art, and So Evil Studios, and follow us on Instagram and TikTok. Thank you. I'll leave that on there for you guys.
We've got time for a few questions, if anyone has any questions for Kate.
Hi, anyone? Hi.
Where did the name So Evil come from?
Oh my God. So that name came from us locking ourselves into the meeting room for about 2 days solid. We were originally going to call ourselves Studio Cov, named after my ferret, who was called Cov. But we found somebody else had that. So we kind of got together and we were like, what do we like? Evil. Now we really threw everything at the wall and like see what stuck, and so evil stuck. So yeah, not like a deep story, but that's us. Yeah. Okay. Hi.
I think it's been cool that the unique custom stuff you're making sounds really interesting. I was curious though how, with the stuff you're making that is based on real guns and items and stuff, how are you dealing with the licensing involved in that?
It's such an interesting question because that's something that I've only just really been aware of from our meeting with Jonathan Ferguson. Which is why the SE TAC, our new original gun, doesn't copy any actual one. We've had to, so the way, like for you guys, little insider secrets, the way that I modeled that is I modeled a gun that does exist, and then I thought, okay, now I've got the skeleton, now I need to like rip it out and make it not infringe on any IP, basically. So that is a good question, and the answer is like you got to think about it and you got to take like active steps to not get sued. Yeah. Yeah. Hi.
Hello. I just kind of want to know, how did you fall into the specialism of guns?
Because I'm weird.
What I mean is, it's quite complicated, the modelling. You showed us that, and it just seemed really complicated and hard. There must be something in you that thought, yeah, there is something here that I want to do, and it's guns.
Yeah.
Can you explain?
I mean, like, you've kind of answered that for me. The reason why I chose to get into guns is because out of all of the 3D processes, we all kind of found what we really like. Stephen, who's our terrain artist, really likes environment art. Drew, who is our character mini artist, it really likes sculpting and character art. I really enjoy modeling. So I thought, okay, what is widely considered the most difficult and impressive thing to model, so I can really specialize in that and kind of show off. So that's why I chose gun. And then the love has like grown along the way, basically. Yeah. So any other questions? Well, we're around, and the creator of Warped, Ross, is around as well. So we're super keen to chat to you guys some more. But thank you so much for listening. Thanks, guys.